What's Gucci? What's happening, people? I'm just going to give a public service announcement right now. A little disclaimer: this video is going to be very heavy-handed. It's going to be me rambling and ranting, and I'm going to be a little emotional about it because it's a topic that's been on my mind for years, and I finally just have to talk about it. So if you're not into like race and politics or any of that, just skip this video, and we'll have some more lighthearted stuff coming up because I've been planning some lighthearted stuff. Anyways, problematic black leaders. We as a people really have to start looking at the issues that we have on the inside, because just because somebody says, they're on code or whatnot or other things, doesn't mean that they do things that isn't forgivable. You can't be mad when other people, so-called culture vultures, come into your house when you're not willing to clean up the issues on the inside at all in the first place. So if you don't know, what really spawned this video, despite the fact I've had this on my mind for years, and I've talked about it like in person in regards to like hoteps and other stuff, and in the barbershop and other things. But what spawned this, what finally just made me had enough, is there's a guy called DJ Vlad. He has a beef with Lord Jamar and comedian Godfrey and Royce the 5'9" and some of the Nation of Islam members because he misquoted something that Minister Farrakhan said. I mean, he did. He completely did, because I'm objective and I'm honest, unlike some of those people. Now, the quote was about, he said that he encouraged Muslims to pick up a rock and pick up a stone and throw them at Jews, which he did. The Farrakhan quote was to throw a stone of truth. But when I also listened to that statement, there was some lines that I had issue with, and it goes like this: "Those of you that say you are Jews, I will not give you the honor of calling you a Jew. You are not a Jew. You are so-called. You're Satan." And the first thing I thought of was, well, what the fuck gave you the right to give somebody the honor of calling them a Jew or not? Even if you want to use it like, because he used Satan very metaphorically a lot. Even if you're doing that, you're just another man. I don't care if you're a leader to some people. Nothing makes you any more special than the rest. But when you expound upon that even further, Farrakhan has a tendency to do that a lot, especially when it comes to Jews, where he tries to separate true Jews, so-called true Jews, between satanic Jews. He's done it in a lot of his speeches, and I've had a problem with it every single time, because to me personally, and it's just to me, that's along that type of like ethno-racial fallacy of, you're not real because you don't follow these type of guidelines. You don't do this or whatnot, etc. I can't say that somebody's not a real black person just because they're conservative. Like Sheriff David Clark, I'm gonna use him for example. Is he black? Yes, he is. Now he's a fucking jackass, 100%, but that doesn't stop him from being black. At least the way that we've created that in America or in the Western world, whatever you want to say. By depiction, he's black. That's not going to stop. People who are Jews, whether they, are people who abuse their power or not, they're still Jews. You, a Muslim man, don't have no right to tell somebody else whether they're Jewish or not. If I was a Jewish person, I would have a problem with that. I would have a problem with Farrakhan saying stuff like that, because in fact, I do have a problem with Farrakhan saying stuff like that, and I have had it for years. I have said this multiple times. Farrakhan is on point with some issues, but he's also problematic. And the issue I have with it is the fact that people who get upset at other people that are upset at Farrakhan, they don't address the problematic statements. These type of people remind me of those who have rapists and pedophiles in their families that try to sweep that shit under the rug, that never want to talk about it. But if a family member does, or a Lord God forgive, somebody from the outside does, that's when they want to start puffing their chests out, get all up in arms, like, who are you to judge my family? And I'm saying this from personal perspective because I know people who are exactly like this, who fucking have rapists and pedophiles in their family. But that's what this type of stuff reminds me of. Lord Jamar is somebody that is not worth listening to. Yes, he's part of Brand Nubian. Yes, he's a 5%er. Yes, they speak about black power and black empowerment and whatnot. You know what he also does though? He pushes pseudoscience like Dr. Sebi. Everything Dr. Sebi was talking about, at least the conspiracy of it, was complete bullshit. There's a channel called Intellectual Media. It has an X in it. Ray Rochelle, who is Jeffrey Alamonte, he put me onto that in one of his videos. It wasn't directed to me, but it was a video he put out. And everything she said there was correct. Sebi wasn't on trial for proving that his medicine worked. Sebi was on trial for practicing medicine without a license, and the only reason why he beat that trial is the fact that, in technical terms, the herbal remedies that he were pushing wasn't him practicing medicine. That's how he beat it. If you want to believe in holistic medicine, that is fine, because I do personally believe that if you eat properly and don't have to put a lot of processed foods in your body, if you diet appropriately as well as exercise, that you will, for the most part, avoid certain diseases like that. In fact, this is scientifically proven. But when you then try to say, well, eating natural and holistic medicine will prevent cancer and everything else, no, the fucking won't. Because you know how cancer exists? Cancer is a mutation in your body. It's something that statistically happens. Now, some things can make it worse, like smoking and ingesting certain plastics. Like what they say. I don't remember what the plastic's called, but if you put like boiling plastic, if you put boiling water in plastic, I meant to say, it could leach certain chemicals. There's certain plastics that can make it worse. How does that make it worse? When you smoke, you're inhaling. When you smoke cigarettes and whatnot, you're inhaling carcinogens and whatnot, which burn your lungs. So your body has to repair that. Our internal organs aren't like our muscles. So while our muscles and other things are used to repairing it, your internal organs not really so much. So that has a higher propensity. I'm not even saying it correctly, but it has a higher chance of those cells, just mutating the wrong way, and bada bing, bada boom. Next thing you know, you have cancer, because that's all cancer is. It's a out of control mutation of your cells. And well, at least putting it in a nutshell. When people like Lord Jamar push that stuff as actual science, that shit is dangerous. When people like Lord Jamar are all on Instagram talking about fuck a mask, not wearing a mask, are irresponsibly using their platform and position to encourage people to not wear a fucking mask, even though black people suffer from diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and all those other things that make us predisposed to, suffering complications from a respiratory illness like COVID-19. I'm supposed to look at that person and be like, yeah, I'm going to follow him, because he talks about being on code and being for your people. If you were really for your people, you wouldn't be doing that bullshit. There is so much anti-science, bigotry, homophobia, and the black community that motherfuckers do not want to address. Yet those same people try to make themselves as leaders. Get the fuck out of here. I have a problem with it. It's bothered me for so long. Snake oil salesmen like Umar Johnson, and I'm so happy now that people are finally catching on to the fact that he is a scam artist. I could not stand him because a lot of the things he was saying were not correct. They were wrong. When he was talking about the Lovings, and I think they were the Lovings. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place and I'm a little tipsy. But when he was talking about the Lovings on the Breakfast Club, I talked about how people were waiting for their case so they could finally interracially marry. That shit was wrong. When he talked about you were going to marry somebody that looks like you because they understand your struggle, the first thing I think of is that's not love. Nigga, that's pity. You want to marry somebody that you understand, somebody that cares for you, somebody that's going to share the journey with you in life if you believe in marriage. Not just somebody that understands your struggle, because you could be with somebody that understands your struggle and y'all don't fucking get along. That type of stuff. Pseudo-intellectual bullshit like that people weren't really even just addressing. I mean, I had a bigger talking point when it comes to Umar Johnson about the Lovings. In fact, I wrote, this was a few years ago, because a family member had posted it and was like, what do you think about it? Just on his Facebook. And somebody said something in a hotep-like fashion, and I wrote a multiple paragraph essay just about breaking it down. I can't remember what it was, but the whole gist of it is these aren't people that you want to follow. Now, Umar Johnson is a snake oil salesman. As I said before, people are catching on to it. He's a fucking scam artist, and there's a million reasons I could list that why. But then you got people like Lord Jamar and everybody else who they believe the shit that they say, but they're anti-science. They're pro bigotry. Because when you talk about, hey, I stopped the motherfuckers in hip hop wearing skirts, what you got a problem with a guy wearing a skirt for? Male and female is a social construct in that regards. Because if you tell somebody, oh, you're not acting how a male acts, that's a social construct. There is no rules on how a male should act. It doesn't exist. The only thing that does have rules that is like hard coded in our DNA is to reproduce and survive. And that's it. Everything else, acting like a male, acting like a female, you throw like a girl, you act like a guy, all the other shit, those are things that we have created when we formed something called a society and like social relationships. A dog, a cat, a deer, they don't understand like, how a male deer should act or how a female deer should act or any of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They have their own practices, but the word male and female does not exist, is what I'm trying to say. So getting back to the topic, there's a lot of bad leaders in the black and hip hop community. People that want to find fault with what outsiders do, but then turn a blind eye to the shit that's happening on the inside. Because the hood shouldn't be how it is. Just because a lot of us don't have a lot of money doesn't mean that we should be in the position that we're in, especially now. With the advent of social media, we can invest in stocks. I've invested in stock. Hell, living in the hood doesn't mean your home has to be dirty. It doesn't cost that much money to go to fucking Home Depot and buy some 2x4, some paint, and a wood saw or a power saw, whatever. You see what I'm saying? That type of stuff. This type of stuff just bothers me so much. It really pisses me off. And that's why I kind of stand where I stand. Am I pro-black? Absolutely. 100%. I was raised around strong black people. Great-grandfather, he served in World War II. My neighbor from across the street, also black. He served in the Korean War. My neighbor who lived to the next to me, World War II. My neighbor to the right of me, World War II. He lived across the street because this was in the burbs, because everybody was older. They took their money, their families and whatnot, and they moved to the suburbs. But there was all strong black people around me. Some who actually marched in the Million Man March. So when it comes to being on code and everything in regards to that, I definitely believe in it when it comes to advocating for policies and things that improve the living conditions of black and minority people in America. But that's it. The rest, the homophobia, the bigotry, the anti-science, the pseudo-intellectual bullshit, I will not and never will subscribe to any of that. Because at the end of the day, who the fuck killed Malcolm X? It wasn't white people that did it. And that's the point of all this. Watch who you listen to and believe, because they will sell you down this stream if they don't have good intentions. Or even worse, if they do have good intentions and they're fundamentally wrong. All unity isn't good unity. And that's all.